we are with you. It is myself, Jonathan, also known as the PC Genie. In case you didn't know, that was a parliamentarian password. You've just learned something today. Today I'm going to be talking about this, and this is the Hanwei Practical Range Mortuary Sword. Now, if you're wondering what a mortuary sword is, it is one of the earliest types of basket hilt sword. This type of thing, 180-degree basket hilt, sort of came just after the swept hilt swords, similar to things like early rapiers and certain other cut and thrust swords. So basically you have the crossguard, the really basic medieval type, the swept hilts with the sort of wiggly lines, and then this, and then your sort of military sabres and things later on. So basically the time period we'd be talking about with this is around the mid-1600s in England, around the time of Oliver Cromwell's conquest, the the English Civil War between the King Charles I and between the forces of Parliament, and Parliament won, in case you didn't know. One of the reasons this is called a mortuary sword is because sometimes on the originals, the actual antiques, you'd sometimes see a sort of an engraving, especially in a pommel, of King Charles's head. Whether that's supposed to mean yes, he's dead, or whether it means in loving memory of our great king, I don't know. I'm not sure the historians know either. I haven't heard any confirmation of which, but that's one of the theories why it's called the mortuary sword. Now, one of the distinct features about this is the 180-degree basket hilt. Now, if you're used to things like arming swords, used to having a lot of manoeuvrability and twist throughout the hand, and same with using something like a military sabre, because they usually have a sort of chunky part here that protects your hand from cuts and thrusts from the top, and also maybe a bar or something, or something broader that goes down to the handle. But with this covering 180 degrees, obviously it gives better hand protection, but it also can sometimes, for some people, feel a bit awkward. It's nothing really that would significantly affect your combat prowess, but it does feel different to just using a sabre or something like that. Beyond that, another distinct feature of the mortuary sword and other similar types of back swords is that they are straight bladed, as opposed to things like sabres which have slight curves to the blade, and they're also double-edged. So deliberately, if you're doing certain techniques, you don't necessarily have to turn your blade in and use the true edge going along the front, but you can, in certain circumstances, find it quicker, just flick back with the false edge. Obviously though, with the protection on the hand and exposing it, if you're deliberately starting to use back edge cuts, you'd normally still keep using the true edge. Now, in terms of this particular model, it's not the best in the world. I mean, it's got an okay balance. In fact, its point of balance about here, a couple of inches in front of the hilt. But it's also got about 3mm or so as a safety edge. So this is more designed for reenactment and things like HEMA. But I'd say it's pretty good for it as well. The only concern I'd have is that it does keep the same sort of width around the point, and if you're delivering a thrust and giving point, it can potentially mean that you should have even thicker sort of padding and protection than you need already just to spar with steel swords. Apart from that, the guard and the actual rigidity, I mean, I've got nicks and dents all along the edge because I have myself used this for sparring and given it to other people for sparring who've used it in varying degrees of hardness in their attacks and defences. But despite all that, it has remained fairly solid. So I certainly wouldn't give any bad points in terms of the durability. It's certainly something I'd consider a good practical, as per the name, and durable blade. The hilt, I'm not sure about its exact construction. I don't think it's entirely steel. It certainly doesn't seem to rust, whether it's something plated, whether it is some kind of a chromed material. I'm not 100% sure, I will admit. The grip is nothing too fancy. I'll give you a closer look. So here we are, that's the grip. And here's the hilt as well. As you can see, that basket that's very iconic to the mortuary swords. You've got these types of bars, usually those two going across that way, and then the main bar going down like that. And of course, this at the top. Another distinct feature you see on this back bit that sort of curls up a bit. Those are the main sort of distinct features, apart from the more broad terms, you know, the blatant fullering and whatnot. It's got another interesting design of it between the mortuary sword and something like a sabre, is that, like earlier arming swords, it keeps a pommel on it, so it's got more of a degree of counterbalance, ready for more swift cuts. It's up to personal preference whether you like it. As I say, I mean, it's certainly built sturdily and quite well on this blade. So all in all, the main problems I'd have with it are, it's okay. It's not bad like some of the types of swords you see sold for reenactment purposes that tend to be really heavy. In this case, actually, well, it's certainly not too heavy on this case, but it doesn't have brilliant handling. I mean, you can have back swords that are absolutely beautiful and practically dance in the hand, but this, not so much. And like I say, apart from that, my concern would be on the point. It wouldn't be quite so safe to thrust it as opposed to something like you can get from, for example, Peter Genie from Hungary, getting things like the sabres, where you'd normally have a rolled tip, or at least something thicker or buttoned at the end, to make sure that it's just going to flex and not actually stab into you. So yeah, all in all, despite the fact that people seem to give sort of mixed reviews about the Hanwei Practical range, I'd say it's not too bad with the mortuary sword. And another point I'd put into consideration is, because it is quite a specific sword, we're talking, you know, a back sword, but not the later ones like Scottish Highland broadsword, it's Oliver Cromwell's time, you're not going to see very many reproductions of these, so, you know, it's a limited market and a bit of a niche, to be honest. So considering that, it's certainly not the worst option in the world. So yeah, I quite like it. My final notes I'd mention about the scabbard. It's not very authentic, unfortunately. It's got the sort of shapes and whatnot, which again, it's the same kind of material as the hilt. It's not your typical kind of steel. It's got a strange grainy pattern. I might research later into what exact material it is. I'm not sure at the moment. It's got these sorts of things to attach to a belt, which is quite nice. You have two of them. I've just removed one of them myself. And the actual main scabbard material itself, it seems to be some kind of carbon fibre or resin or some kind of modern manufactured material like that. And to make sure it doesn't rattle too much inside, it's got sort of foamy bits. I'll show you a close-up again. So if you look just inside here, you can see that it's sort of padded out with a foamy type of substance. So that means it isn't quite as noisy and doesn't rattle as you go along. So it's, apart from the fact that it's quite secure in the actual sword itself, the scabbard also seems to provide quite a secure grip as well. So yeah, as I say, all in all, I'd say probably one of the better of the Hanwei Practical range, and not too bad as a mortuary sword goes, since there's not a huge range of choice. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that review, and see you in the next video. Cheers guys!